All right, and welcome to another episode of the Comics Brew and Chew podcast, recorded live in one of our basements. Today we will be doing another Batman title. This time, another one of my favorite books, Batman Volume 1 of the New 52, most affectionately referred to as The Court of Owls, written by Scott Snyder with art by Greg Capullo. Brief summary before we go into it. Batman's been operating in Gotham for about, a little bit. 5 years is usually, give or take, the New 52 timeline. He thinks he knows the city pretty well, when all of a sudden this group called the Court of Owls comes out of nowhere, and he falls into shenanigans and just bad times with them, trying to figure out this intricate group that exists beneath Gotham and all throughout Gotham history, as the city he thinks he knows and loves slips away from him, finding out he knows less and less by the day.
The Bat-Illuminati.
Yes, essentially the Illuminati of the Batman universe. This is the first volume of the New 52 Batman, so it's the first thing after DC relaunched, I believe in 2012. Batman issue 2 is the first comic book that, not that I ever owned, but I picked up at Newberry Comics up in, where is it? It's in the middle of Boston. It's Nathaniel Hall.
I was going to say Newberry Street?
Yeah.
No.
That's where it started.
No, there's
Yeah, the one in Nathaniel Hall.
Yeah, Nathaniel, right across the street in the shopping district.
Yeah.
There is a Newberry that takes up like 3 of the cubicles that they allow for
I
those.
love that one. I haven't been there in so long. But
The only thing was like the comic books were in like the back corner, which sucked. But they had issue 2 of New 52 Batman, so I missed all the intrigue of the first issue, and I jumped right in there. Excuse me. And that's where I get going with reading the rest of the series, and then I went back and picked up the first volume. From there, I eventually found my own comic shop, which is now closed. Found another comic shop after that, and I have read every issue of Scott Snyder's Batman, and then immediately fell off of it 20-something issues into Tom King writing Batman. And the other thing with this book is it's drawn by Greg Capullo. Greg Capullo didn't cut his teeth on this character, but after issue 25 of Spawn took over for drawing Spawn, and Spawn is the book that got me into comics in general because I found volume 1 at Barnes & Noble. So that is my history with this book, just to start it off with. So if I have any biases towards it, is because this is probably one of the most important runs / issues / trades that I own. And before we go any deeper into the conversation, just need to shout out that we are still snacking on Tim Tams, cookies, brownies, and enjoying nice Seagram's Escapes, which are making me happy, and
they've been thoroughly enjoyed.
There's still one left. Meanwhile, I still have 3 McUltras that I can have if anybody else wants one. But, from that, I will open up the floor, and before Tom or John even decide to talk about this book, the resident orphan, Amanda, should probably talk about why she has issues with Batman, probably the most relatable character for her.
Oh my god, I can't handle him. I can't handle Batman. Wine, 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 my parents are dead, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Okay, I got it out of my system. We're good now.
So, this book is always one that I've wanted to read. I've always heard, how good Court of Owls is, and finally sitting down and reading it yesterday in one sitting, fantastic. Oh my god, I love it.
Yep, I finished it about an hour before this, and I can agree with that. I absolutely love that. It's one of my favorite things I've read on the podcast so far. I can't wait to read the second part.
Which Amanda, with her hands in her face, realizes she has to read.
I mean, when you consider we have at least possibly two more Batmans this year that we're going to do on the podcast. Possibly. The second part of Court of Owls, and then if it finishes this year,
The second White Knight.
The Curse of the White Knight.
We could do that issue by issue, really drag it out.
That would actually be kind of cool if we do an issue-by-issue recap of Curse of the White Knight. Especially because you guys know I'm already buying it.
Yeah.
I'll grin and bear whatever you guys throw at me. It's just you will hear fuck Batman 100,000 times.
Even if it's in this universe?
I mean...
That was better just because Joker was intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like these are relatively... I mean, he broods a lot in White Knight, but In this movie, this is like
What was
a
that?
confident,
Bruce?
cocky Batman.
I like when Dick shows up using the Joker hologram
Oh, yeah.
face
That
in
was
this
really
one.
cool.
Oh, so you do practice brooding. I really liked, I guess just riffing off of that, for a second I thought it was going to be another, is this another Batman teams with Joker story for all of 3 pages?
Yeah, that's what I thought this was
Winds
gonna
up being
be.
Dick. And then...
Which Gordon calls out. He's like, there are rumors of you working with the Joker. Are those true? And Batman's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, it was a fun little, because I read White Knight first. I think you did it the opposite way, right, John?
I read this first, then White Knight.
Yeah, it was fun kind of bouncing it in that order. Now, Fred, the Court of Owls was created for this run, correct?
The Court of Owls is an original creation by Scott Snyder.
Okay. I loved the both. I always find like deep conspiracy bullshit stuff to be really interesting, so I liked the whole them Illuminati being there through the ages in all of Bruce Wayne's buildings in the city, and visually I didn't read the physical copy of the book. I read it online because John and I each had one of the hard copies, so we read the opposite one online. As I was going through, all of a sudden pages started coming in sideways, and I thought it was an issue with the scan, and then I realized as Batman is, going through this labyrinth and going insane and losing his mind, and they're really playing up what they're doing with the Court of Owls and Talon and everything, and it starts going sideways and it goes upside down. Just that, was kind of the pinnacle of it, but from beginning to end, I thought visually this book was gorgeous, and I
just have to
loved the style
interject
of it.
and say that it was hilarious to see you trying to turn the computer screen.
That's a lot easier to turn the book.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, this is neat. And at first I was annoyed of having to hold the book like this. Like, this is an interesting choice, stylistic. I was trying to figure out why they did it.
Because he's running through this labyrinth and cutting these corners.
It's
and...
because he's drinking the water.
Yeah.
And the water has hallucinogens in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking, I didn't put that right together right away. I was like, maybe they're just doing this, for something stylistic, 1 or 2 pages. And then when it went upside down, I was like, I see what we're doing
Yeah,
here.
it's the hallucinogens, it's all the cutting the corners,
And
and...
then I was thinking about the logistics of printing a comic book upside down, which I guess with modern technology is probably really easy.
What do you mean printing it? All you do is flip the page over.
Yeah, I know.
But and it's cool because I'm opening up to the page where the Court of Owls Talon is stabbing Batman.
Yep.
And Batman's upside down, which is the natural assumption for a bat is to be upside down, and even Batman's not safe.
Yeah.
And just given the nature of the real-life relationship between owls and bats, it's weird to think that an owl-Batman villain isn't something that was done before this.
It has
It kind
been.
of
It
was.
has?
Owlman.
Yeah, there's that whole thing where there's the Dark Justice League from another dimension where they're
Yep.
all evil.
Okay.
The Batman doppelganger is Owlman.
Okay, that's interesting.
Kinda.
That's Crisis on 2 Earths, right?
Yeah, it's weird because there's a movie and there's a book, and then there's, depending on what other books you read, they're from Earth 2 or Earth 3.
Yeah.
They're from a group called the Crime Syndicate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a Dark Justice League. You have Ultraman, Owlman,
Ultraman!
from Japan.
yeah, Superwoman. She doesn't have a lasso of truth. She has a lasso of subjugation, which is made out of barbed wire.
That's pretty fucking dope.
But
Yeah, and then it's what? It's instead of Blue Beetle, it's Scarlet Scarab.
it might be.
I always loved that. I was I like that a lot. That's actually really cool.
But yeah, the whole part where Batman's stuck in the maze the whole time
Yep.
is
And,
amazing.
He very slowly starts to change his appearance. At one point, he has talons. He's a very grotesque monster-esque Batman.
Teeth
His
and...
teeth.
Yeah. It made me think a little bit of the Vision in Batman Begins, when Scarecrow gets doused with his own stuff and
when he sees
sees
Batman,
horror Batman.
Yeah.
But I loved the way that was all
The
represented.
whole base was great.
Yeah, that's the highlight of the book. That's the big selling point, but everything around it, before and after, is just as great. I loved, too, just to go into the kind of deep-rooted conspiracy stuff, I loved the idea of child Bruce Wayne coping with his parents' death by telling himself it had to be something bigger. It wasn't just this Joe Chill guy that wanted my mom's pearls and shot them. It had to be this thing, and he, basically that night becomes Batman for the very first time and does this huge, puts together this huge case and acts as a detective for the first time and tries to find this thing that he's just... because he couldn't find it, has convinced himself doesn't exist.
And that's almost something like a child would do, is convince themselves that it's deeper than
it has to be deeper.
And it's just, it's a conspiracy. It's not just a random act.
And then to link that a little bit with the kind of, childhood links to this organization, I thought it was a really cool reveal with Dick afterwards as well, that he was supposed to be inducted into this organization, and I forget, it was his great-grandfather or great-great-grandfather.
I wanted to check real quick if they...
It's his great-grandfather. They use assassins called Talons.
Yep.
And the Talon that's been hunting Batman this whole time is
great-grandfather.
Great-grandfather.
Dick's great-grandfather. Which is like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah. Because they use Mr. Freeze-esque cryo, technology in order to keep the Talons, in deep freeze in between their missions that they do.
So they're the Winter Soldier.
Essentially.
But there's also, they put, some... What's the metal? Is it mercury, or... There's a metal that they all have, crowns in their teeth.
The idea, the coin, but underneath the tongue to bring them into the afterlife.
It's some kind of electro.
It's something that over the years it electrically charges and.
No, so they explain this coin under their molar, and he explains that it
that's the restart point.
Yeah.
It soaks into their body after so many years, and then they use that to bring them back.
Yeah, when they jolt them, that's the conductor.
Yeah. I know its name is Electron or Electrum. That's what it
is.
It
might be something Scott Snyder made up because he has a history of doing that.
Oh, probably. I don't think there's actually a substance that can bring people back to life, right?
I mean the actual metal itself.
Yeah.
Because the metal plus whatever fluids they replace in their body is what does it.
The beginning of the book, when they find the body of the guy that the Talon murdered that has all of the knives in it. That and the whole just the art style of the book. My first thought with that was Seven.
Yeah.
The David Fincher film, and where they are investigating the killer, unfortunately played by Kevin Spacey, that is killing according to the 7 deadly sins. And I almost thought this was gonna be almost a riff on that film, and it was gonna be deducing this series of brutal murders that tie into something that was going to link back to this Court of Owls conspiracy. But just visually, that's kind of what I got from that panel where the murdered body is revealed.
I just can't wait to read more of it. This is granted we haven't done too many 2-parters.
Yep.
This is the first one that I like.
This is the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to finish it.
That's what sucks, because a lot of what I want to talk about is the part 2 stuff. And, I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But, so they turned this into an animated movie. It's called Batman vs. Robin.
Oh, and I didn't realize that.
No, it's trash.
Is it? They adapted... I have to watch that one, then.
Not until we're done.
Okay. Now, they mention, near the end of the book, Batman and Robin or Nightwing have their usual boiling over point.
Yeah.
Where they snap at each other. And there's a tie-in with this with Nightwing.
Right.
Because obviously, he was supposed to be their next Talon.
Yeah.
He's now Batman's, whatever. And I have the Nightwing side story, I guess, that ties into it. And you don't really miss much. It's more of just Nightwing development. The owner of Halley's Circus dies.
Yeah.
He goes to the funeral. He starts, getting close with all his old circus mates. And then you find out one of them, I think, works for Talon.
They might. It's been a while since I read.
Yeah, but I know one of them ends up trying to kill him.
Okay.
And he finds out about the court in this, but he doesn't know it's the court. There's a lot of owl symbolism. There's at one point they show some kid trapped in this owl sarcophagus torture device, and I imagine if you get the whole picture, it's a lot more interesting.
which is the downside with tie-ins and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm not saying that like Snyder forced people to work alongside him, but the entire Bat family does get involved.
And this, speaking of the nature of tie-ins and stuff, this is really the first book that we've read that's just part of, like, a regular part of a mainstream continuity, right?
Right.
I mean, Marvel's was kind of like that, but it was also a very condensed retelling of
Yeah,
things.
Marvel's was a condensed retelling of the Marvel
And I also
continuity
didn't
in
read
general.
Marvel's.
Right. It was a standalone book, but it was also one that condensed everything down. It was just,
Yeah.
hey, this is Marvel's history over the last X amount of years.
Whereas this is straight up, hey, here's an arc from Batman.
Yeah, this is what you get every month coming
Yeah.
to your comic book shop.
Because prior to this point, we've done a lot of things that
Yeah, it's
were
just been-
made kind of for the graphic novel format almost.
Excuse me.
So I'm just flipping through this Nightwing issue. So obviously, you know, the Court of Owls was supposed to get Dick Grayson as their next Talon,
Yep.
but when they don't, Pally Circus has to provide
A new one?
someone. So then, like the antagonist of the Nightwing book is the kid that Halley Circus gave to the Court of Owls, and this kid holds it against Nightwing his whole life, and that's pretty much how the book ends. Is Nightwing and this dude who took his place and was tortured, and his parents were killed through not like an accident, but because they had to disappear for him to become part of the Court of Owls.
Okay.
So it's interesting. He's almost like I don't know. He's cool looking. He just isn't. I don't think they give him a name. He has like Wolverine-esque blades.
Does he?
Yeah. He has like a green jumpsuit
Yeah.
costume.
All the Talon designs, because there's part 1 and part 2 to the Court of Owls. It's like Court of Owls and like City of Owls or something like that. It's weird because then I have the compendium of like a lot of the tie-ins called the Night of the Owls.
Okay.
Which is just all the different characters interacting in the world. We don't have to read it because it doesn't really like provide anything extra for the story, nor does it. I think it also pulls like a couple issues of Batman from Volume 2.
Yep.
But I like the fact that in this one you start to see the repercussions, because Batman's not in the labyrinth for like a day. He's in there for like a solid week. And you see him at like the tail end of that week trying to figure out his way out, and he always comes back to the Owl Fountain.
Which also parallels very nicely with the room that he's stuck in as a kid for a week
Yeah.
while trying to track down the Court of Owls.
But you get to see some of the outside world looking for Batman, and you probably get to see the most human moment out of his son Damian. Is it page for page?
Not page for page, but like
Oh, the alternate angles.
yeah. Both these books pretty much end. The Nightwing and then the Court of Owls ends the same with,
That
he's
conversation.
confronting Bruce about it.
Yeah.
Bruce punches him for whatever reason.
To knock out the tooth.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, the best way to go about that.
Mind you, he hits him so specifically
That tooth comes
that one
right
tooth
out.
comes out. But
Their whole argument, he's just calculating
Yeah.
all of that.
you get to see the most human element out of Damian, where the bat signal, they've left it on for a week because nobody can find Batman, and the city's like the villains and like the criminals are kind of starting to recognize it too.
Yeah.
The bat signal breaks, like the bulb burns out and the glass shatters. And Damien, the first thing he does is he's like, you get another one, you put it back on, that light can't go out.
Yep.
Kind of like, hey, that beacon needs to be on so that way he can find his way home.
Yeah. And you realize Damien is just literally a child at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Which is weird because like everybody else does that. Like does it opposite. Like they never reference Damien as like the child. Everybody talks about his height, his stature, his age, but he's so mature for his years because he's
Trained by the League of Assassins, League of Shadows,
That-
Ra's al Ghul, whatever you want to call it.
He's also a designer baby. Like he's
Yeah.
not just naturally born. Like they genetically modified him,
Yeah, like let's get Bruce Wayne's DNA.
Yeah.
He's a badass, and we'll get Talia al Ghul.
and then like add some extra shit in. Like there's also like a clone army of Damiens that shows up at one point.
Oh,
Oh, it's-
Okay.
okay.
So it's Black Mirror, basically.
Yeah, and that's how they actually end up killing Damien. Grant Morrison was leaving DC, or like the Bat title he was on, which was Detective Comics or Batman International. No, Batman and Robin. I'm sorry. And in issue 8 of Batman and Robin, he murders Damien at the hands of his clone. I forgot what the name was.
Madian.
Yes, the Maiden. No, it's this huge like monstrosity, and it like stabs Damien through the back.
How old is he when he dies? Like, is he still a kid?
Oh yeah.
Brutal.
Oh, exactly. But
Christ.
that was that was Morrison being like, "Screw you, DC, I'm out. This is my character. I'm taking him with me." And then they bring him back to life with like apocalypse technology.
Oh, I'm surprised they didn't throw him in the Lazarus pit. That always works
No,
so well.
they were going to, but he goes to Apocalypse. Like, dude, he gets this Hellbat armor.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Apocalypse. He beats the shit out of like everybody in Apocalypse. He regenerates Damien, and then he gets superpowers for like 3 issues.
Okay.
But like one of my favorite issues, I think, is like Batman 24, which was running concurrently to the Batman and Robin series that started up a little after Batman started, and it's called the Requiem issue, and it's a silent issue. It's just Batman going through, unleashing all his anger. Like, he's finding hoods, he's finding villains, and he's mopping the floor with all of them. He's brutal, he's violent. He goes home and he just breaks down, and the last page is him sitting there holding Robin's uniform.
Jesus.
Okay.
Like, he takes off the cowl, he takes off like the bat stuff, like he still has his like bat pants on, but like he's just holding Robin's uniform.
Well, if he took the bat pants off, they'd have to censor that book too.
No, that's when the bat thong comes out.
But
Yeah, this I can't wait to read more of this. I'm so excited to read more of this.
it's funny because at the beginning of this book they have like some of the designs for characters that will show up later on, and they're absolutely not the same. Like, that Riddler never shows up.
Oh, the Riddler with the tattoo shaved.
Yeah.
I mean, the question mark shaved onto the top of his head.
Professor Pig doesn't show up in Snyder's run, I don't think.
I like Professor Pig, man. He's
Oh,
kind of funny.
Freeze never shows up in Snyder's run.
Let me see what Freeze looks like in this one again. Okay.
Like, he always needs to have the suit on in this one. And I want, like, Clayface is in the background, but Clayface looks like every Clayface.
Who's the dude between Clayface and with the pink mask?
Clayface was
I don't
in
know.
the
I wanna
Teen
say-
Titans animated series, right?
He might have been, or like a
Yeah.
Clayface-esque character. I want to say it's like the Scarlet Pimpernel or whatever, like a character Batman's supposed to be based off of. I don't think he's like an actual character. I think he's just like another like villain that Batman put in Arkham. Because, hey, this is another Batman book that starts off with Batman in Arkham, but this one he's quelling
Yeah.
a prison break as opposed to showing up to confront the Joker or kill the Joker or because he's in Arkham or because anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess between this and the book we've read previously, Batman White Knight, how would you guys rate these two books against one another and why?
I think I liked White Knight more as of right now.
For me, it's Court of Owls.
Wait, why?
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 Yeah,
Grant-
White Knight, like, Court of Owls, I mean, granted, it's only the first part, but it's like, you know where it's going. Batman's gonna figure it out. He's gonna get out of that maze. He's gonna be a little, you know, usually he needs to get beaten down before he gets back up. That's where Batman shines, is you always beat him down and then he gets back up. And
You
he's-
break his back, and then
Yeah.
he magically teleports back into Gotham.
Batman is vengeance. He's always got to fall first, and then he gets back up. It's kind of the whole fucking shtick of the character. And with White Knight, he has the fall, but you never really see him truly recover. Like, maybe we'll see it a little more in the sequel series, Curse of the whatever Knight, but this one, no, it's just, you know.
Tom?
I liked White Knight. I thought it was a very interesting take, but there were some, I guess, just choices that didn't sit well with me as others did. So, like, I was bouncing between, you know, stuff I really liked and stuff that I was just kind of getting by to get to the next part that I really liked. Whereas I think, and I'll say this, I think White Knight took a very interesting concept and delivered it very well. Court of Owls took a more simple, kind of straightforward Batman concept, but they really layered it with a lot of the kind of fiction concepts that I really enjoy reading, and I thought the execution of it, just artistically and narratively, was excellent. Like, I was hooked from first to last page.
Well, I would much rather White Knight. I enjoyed the Joker story more than dealing with Batman.
Which is fair. Joker, I guess, is narratively more interesting. He's
Narrative.
not so woe is me.
Yeah.
He's a little woe is me of this because he's like, oh, the
Yeah,
Joker did a
he's-
terrible thing, but I'm not the Joker. It's like something Batman can never do.
Yeah, that's
He
the
never
most
separates
woe is me
himself-
Joker I've ever seen in White Knight.
Yeah, Batman never separates himself from Batman as a separate persona. Well, this Joker very much has separated Jack Napier from
Right,
the
and
Joker.
that's actually you bring that up. That's an interesting concept with the whole Joker Jack Napier, split
in
because
some aspect he's more mentally sane than Batman. In
Yeah.
the story.
and that's with Batman, like where you look at Iron Man and Tony Stark is Iron Man, and it's just kind of this endless loop with the two of them. With Batman, he just is Batman, and that Bruce Wayne that he puts out there is just a farce to cover up Batman.
Yeah.
See, for me, it's hard to choose which is which. Like, which I prefer more, because I love Batman White Knight because of the art and the storytelling and everything.
Yeah.
But, like, and then it's the nostalgia for me with Batman Court of Owls being, like, one of the first, like, major investments into comics I ever made outside of Spawn. And, like, I don't know if I can rank one over the other, because, like, one is a standalone book as opposed
And
to, like...
one of them is just mainstream DC
this
continuity.
is like, hey, if you want to, like, see if comic books should be for you, this is, like, something you
good
should
one.
check out. But, like, hey, if you're looking for a good, like, Batman story that won't get you invested in anything, here's another one that has stuff that you might recognize because of outside influences.
Yeah.
But what I love about Court of Owls that White Knight doesn't do, because White Knight isn't supposed to do it, is, well, it kind of does, but Court of Owls explores Batman as a character more. In a weird way, I say that because you see one of his faults being his overconfidence. Like, Gotham is my city. That's something you hear, like, a lot of heroes say, depending on what city they're in. Like, Daredevil's always like, Hell's Kitchen is, like, my part of New York. Spider-Man's very, New York is my city. But you never see their confidence shaken in that. The most you see is their confidence bestowed in that, because like the people of that city rise up against like whatever. Like, I don't want to use this as like the only example, but one of the better examples I can think of is post 9/11. Marvel did a lot of stuff for the terrorist attacks because a lot of their books are based out of New York. So you see a lot of everyday New Yorkers rising up next to the heroes in the fictitious world that they all live in. Where in Court of Owls, you see Batman shaken because he doesn't know his city.
Yeah.
You see a background to the actual city of Gotham. You see this underlying threat with the Court of Owls. Like, they chip away at Batman, his identity, who he is, who he thinks he is, what he thinks everything is, like, just destroyed. And then you see that in his personage when he's going through the maze. But you also see him come back when, like, the camera goes off for the second time and you see him punch it.
Yeah.
At first you're like, oh, he punches it out of rage and frustration. But then you realize, no.
He punches because he's Batman and he needs the
Yeah.
photoreactive plate inside the camera to make an explosive.
Exactly.
Which is so, like, it's so cool, but at
Yeah.
the same time, it's like Batman's, like, such a bullshit character.
Exactly. And then, like, he knows where he is, so he knows if he blows up, like, the hole in a certain spot, he'll fall into the river. And that the river leads to an entrance to the Batcave. And then seeing that Alfred show up with a shotgun and being like, who the fuck are you and what are you doing here? You also see the introduction, I didn't realize she was in here, to a character named Harper Row.
Yeah, so is that her debut appearance? I looked her
This
up
is her
as I was
debut
reading.
appearance.
Okay.
She becomes a character called Bluebird, which is
Which
kind of like a chick
she's-
Nightwing.
Yeah.
But she's
Does
also...
she work with Red Robin?
No.
Yum.
But she's kind of cool. She's like an ancillary character. Like one of like the many like Robin spin-offs that Scott
She
Snyder
looked like
will
a
make.
very Scott Snyder character.
Yeah,
I was intrigued.
she doesn't go anywhere, but I believe there's a further issue later on in the series where you see Harper show up again, and she's kind of a badass.
Would it be in the second part of Court of Owls,
That
or
I-
like past that?
That I don't remember
Okay.
because I think it might be afterwards because it's a standalone issue.
Gotcha.
Actually, the cover's pretty cool. I like top of my head. I think I can guess the issue, so I can find you guys a picture of it. No, not Barman. That's my hero.
Barman. I love it. So, we're doing Prince of Cats for February.
Right.
Possible, more than likely a Captain Marvel episode. That's February, right?
March. Early March is Captain
Ooh.
Marvel.
Why did I
If
think it was
early
February?
March, if early March is Captain Marvel, if we can get Prince of Cats done for Valentine's Day-esque
Yeah.
time period, Kingdom Come for end of February, beginning of March with Captain Marvel would be fantastic because that's a huge Captain Marvel story
Leading with them, and that can tie into the movie then.
that can tie into the movie,
Yeah, that
and
works.
then we can do
And
For March, I'm kicking
I-
around the idea. Because usually when it's the month of someone's birthday, we do something they want to do.
exactly.
I'm a March baby, barely. I kind of want to do Iron Fist.
Okay.
Whose run is it?
Fractions.
Fractions.
Fractions, yeah. The first issue. The second, I don't know. First or the second, either one.
The cover for the standalone Harper issue.
It's a lot to
Okay.
read. But yeah, Fractions one really got me into.
As someone who hasn't seen the Netflix series and has no intention of watching it, but I love Fractions Hawkeye. I'm very interested
So
to read it.
we could do part 2 as a. I mean, I'll say it as an April book if you want.
I mean, we could.
We could just squeeze it in as soon as possible.
Yeah,
even
I would like to squeeze it in as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
we
No.
could probably record that in Prince of Cats back to back.
Yeah, it's a lot of book.
Okay.
Like, when you guys actually see Prince of Cats, I know
Yeah.
Amanda may have started already. Prince of Cats looks good, and it is good, but it's also dense.
Okay.
Like it's thin but dense. Granted, once you figure out what's actually going on, it kind of
Hurry. I'm gonna adjust you on that.
it's Shakespeare.
Yeah.
It's Romeo and Juliet as told from the point of view of a different character and then
Yeah.
modernized.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We're spoiling this for everybody.
It's not really because that's actually how
Well,
they.
no, I just
Yeah, well,
mean
yeah,
our
that's
plans.
We tell the people our plans every other episode, and then they never come to fruition
That's
half
true.
the time, anyways.
That's very true.
Point.
They'll come to fruition this time, though. We've been good. We've been very good for 2019. We've put a lot of episodes out in 2019
And a
so
lot of
far.
pictures.
And as we spitball future plans for future things that may not actually happen, which I will touch on again in the next episode, if we get big enough, I may be able to pull a special guest. So
Okay.
there's that. But thank you guys for listening. Remember to like and subscribe and check out our Instagram page over on the Instagram platform where we post pictures of comic books and shit. Never us.
Well,
Yet.
Well, I mean, we have nothing to do with comic books.
look for us at comics_BNC.
Thanks for listening, and stick around for, not now, but later on, another episode of the Comics Brew and Chew podcast, where we will be talking about stuffs. Thanks, everybody.